$50,000. That was the amount offered to Eldon Hoke to kill Kurt Cobain. The drummer who rejected Courtney Love's proposal told everything on camera in 1997, but 8 days after his interview, he died mysteriously. Was it coincidence, or was he silenced? Eldon Hoke's story opened the door to one of the darkest theories surrounding Kurt Cobain's death and became one of rock history's most controversial claims. Eldon Wayne Hoke, born in 1958, grew up in the ghettos of Los Angeles. After a difficult childhood, Hoke became a founding member of the Mentors, one of rock's most radical bands. The group was formed in 1976 and aimed to break the taboos of the music industry. Eldon Hoke's stage name was El Duce, and he handled both vocal and drum duties. The Mentors' music was a mix of metal, punk, and hardcore. They were known in the underground scene for their shocking performances and provocative lyrics. The Mentors weren't just making music. They were a protest movement that questioned social norms with extreme lyrics and provocative stage performances. The group consistently received rejections from major record labels, but made music their way on independent labels. When the Seattle grunge scene exploded in the early 1990s, the Mentors also tried to become part of that wave. Eldon Hoke's Los Angeles studio Scum Studios provided affordable recording opportunities for underground bands. Between 1992 and 1993, many grunge and metal groups worked there. During this period, Hoke's path crossed with Courtney Love and the band Hole. Courtney Love was trying to advance her music career while also making headlines with her relationship with Kurt Cobain. After Hole's 1991 album, Pretty on the Inside, received critical acclaim but failed commercially, the group was pursuing bigger productions. Courtney's first visit to Scum Studios was in November 1993. The official reason was to make demo recordings for Hole's new album they were working on. But from the first day, Courtney's behavior was attention-grabbing. She didn't socialize much with other musicians and often preferred to have private conversations with Hoke. Hoke would later describe his first impression of Courtney in his 1997 interview. She was very intelligent, but also calculating. She weighed every word she spoke, like she was constantly planning something. She thought more about how to become famous than about music. In the first weeks, Courtney's frequency of visits to the studio increased. Sometimes Hole's other members wouldn't come, and only Courtney would work alone. This situation surprised Hoke because solo work was usually done in more expensive studios, but Courtney said she preferred Scum Studios' relaxed atmosphere. Late in 1993, Courtney Love visited Hoke's studio. The official reason was demo recordings for Hole's new album, but according to Hoke's later statements, Courtney's real purpose was different. During studio sessions, Courtney began having private conversations with Hoke. These conversations seemed innocent at first, but gradually took on a darker nature. According to Hoke's 1997 interview, Courtney initially began complaining about Kurt Cobain. She spoke at length about Kurt's drug addiction, depression, and irresponsibility. "He's ruining my career," she complained. "As long as I'm married to him, I'm not seen as a serious musician." His complaints continued for several weeks. Every time Courtney came to the studio, she used Hoke as a listener, telling him about their marriage problems. Hoke initially considered this situation normal. Marriage problems were common in the music world, and many musicians expressed similar troubles. In February 1994, the situation changed completely. When Courtney Love was alone with Hoke, she started a much more serious conversation. Courtney, who came to the studio under the pretense of recording, had locked the door after setting up the equipment. "El Duce, you know about these things," she said. Her voice was lower than normal, and she was looking around as she spoke. "There are people in Los Angeles, aren't there? People who do certain jobs for money?" These words shocked Hoke. He couldn't fully understand what Courtney meant, but he was very uncomfortable with her tone and manner. Hoke described that moment like this. Courtney's eyes were very determined, like she had been planning this conversation for a long time. "You know the underworld of Los Angeles. The Mentors members were always tough guys. Maybe there are things you could do," she said. A few days later, on February 14th, Valentine's Day, Courtney spoke more openly. She had come to the studio alone and hadn't touched any music equipment. She sat directly next to Hoke and put her hands on his knees. "I need to get rid of Kurt," she said. Her voice was both determined and desperate. "But just, divorce isn't enough. He'll destroy me. He'll blacklist me in the music industry. My career will be over. He'll take custody of Francis. He'll destroy everything I have." When Hoke heard these words, his heart started racing. He was beginning to understand what Courtney meant, but he didn't want to be part of such a dangerous conversation. "Courtney, we shouldn't be talking about things like this," he had replied. But Courtney was insistent. "Listen to me, Elducci. You're a street guy. You know how to handle these kinds of things. Kurt's daily routines are predictable. Every morning he stays alone in his room above the garage. The security system is turned off between 7 and 9 a.m. for the electrical repairmen." At the end of February, Courtney Love made her direct offer to Hoke. This conversation took place on the evening of February 28th, when no one was in the studio. According to Hoke's 1997 account, Courtney said the following: $50,000. "I can give you this money up front. All I want is for Kurt to disappear. I don't care how it happens, but it has to look like suicide. No one should suspect anything. Can you do it?" Eldon Hoke was shocked by this offer. $50,000 was a lot of money for that time, especially for a member of an underground band like the Mentors. But Hoke didn't want to get involved in this business. He rejected Courtney by saying, "We never had this conversation." Courtney Love didn't want to accept this rejection. Throughout March, she tried to convince Hoke. She increased the money amount, even raising it to $75,000. But Hoke was determined. He wouldn't get involved in this business. Moreover, Courtney's persistence was starting to scare him. When Kurt Cobain's body was found at his Seattle home on April 8, 1994, according to official statements, he had committed suicide. When Hoke learned the news from television, his first thought was the conversations with Courtney. Had Courtney made her offer to someone else? This thought disturbed him, but he didn't share it with anyone. After Kurt's death, Courtney Love never came to the studio again. Hoke began working in different studios. Hoke considered this normal. He thought Courtney was in a mourning process. Also, those dark conversations between them were beginning to be forgotten. 1995 and 1996 were difficult years for Hoke. The Mentors were on the verge of breaking up. Changes in the music industry were negatively affecting underground bands. The mainstreaming of the grunge movement had overshadowed more radical groups. Hoke began experiencing financial difficulties. During this period, Hoke began following conspiracy theories about Kurt Cobain's death. Private Detective Tom Grant's claims, theories that Kurt might not have committed suicide, contradictions in forensic reports. All of these caught Hoke's attention, especially speculations about Courtney Love's suspicious behavior overlapped with Hoke's own experiences. At the beginning of 1997, true crime documentary filmmaker Nick Broomfield was preparing a documentary about Kurt Cobain's death. This documentary, titled Kurt and Courtney, would examine Kurt's death from different angles. During his research, Broomfield heard Eldon Hoke's name and decided to interview him. In the first meeting, Hoke gave general information about his studio work with Courtney, but under Broomfield's pressure, he began sharing more private details. Courtney's complaints about Kurt, their marriage problems, her career concerns. As Hoke told these, he became increasingly tense. In the second meeting, Broomfield directly asked about the hitman allegations. Hoke initially tried to reject this topic, but under Broomfield's insistence and the pressure to tell the truth on camera, Hoke broke down. "Okay, I'll tell," he said, "but I'm ready to face the consequences." In the interview conducted on December 19, 1997, Eldon Hoke made rock history's most shocking claim. Looking into the camera, he said, "Courtney Love came to me. She wanted me to kill Kurt. She offered $50,000. I rejected it, but she was very determined. She might have made her offer to someone else." The details of these allegations were even more striking. According to Hoke, Courtney wanted Kurt's death to appear like suicide. "It should look like he shot himself," she had said. "No one should suspect anything." Moreover, Courtney had also given information about where and when Kurt would be alone. The most dramatic moment of the interview was when Hoke explained Courtney's motivation. She didn't just want to get rid of Kurt, she also wanted to control Kurt's legacy. As a widow, all rights would pass to her: music, books, movies, everything. Nick Broomfield carefully noted these claims, but at the same time, he had doubts about Hoke's reliability. Hoke's history with alcohol and drugs raised questions about the truth of these allegations. Additional evidence began to be sought for the documentary. After the interview, Hoke began to become uncomfortable with the impact of his statements. He told friends, "I made a big mistake. I upset Courtney. Bad things might happen to me." These concerns began to increase to paranoid levels. On December 27, 1997, exactly 8 days after the interview, Eldon Hoke left his Los Angeles home and was never seen again. That evening, friends saw him at Johnny's Bar in Riverside. Bar owner Miguel Rodriguez said Hoke was very drunk and paranoid. He kept saying, "They're following me. Courtney's people are after me." The most striking detail was that Hoke had come to the bar with a blonde woman, Rodriguez, about 35 years old. She was talking very closely with Hoke. The woman kept checking her surroundings. When Hoke got drunk, the woman got up and left. At 11:30 p.m., Hoke left the bar on foot. In the morning, his body was found on train tracks 10 kilometers from Riverside. Body parts were scattered along 150 meters. The Riverside Police Department concluded the incident was suicide based on their investigation at the scene. It was noted that Hoke had been depressed recently and had alcohol problems. It was assessed that the statements he made about Kurt Cobain in the interview might have affected him psychologically. But some details made this suicide conclusion suspicious. First, Hoke's body was found almost 100 meters from the tracks. In train accidents, bodies usually remain closer to the impact point. Second, the pattern of injuries on Hoke's body looked strange, as if he had experienced other traumas before the train impact. The third and most important detail was witness statements found at the scene. A farmer living near the tracks had seen several cars at the scene around midnight. The cars had left about 20 minutes before the train passed. This testimony was not included in police reports. Eldon Hoke's death was officially recorded as suicide. But music circles and conspiracy theorists did not accept this conclusion. Especially Tom Grant and Nick Broomfield claimed that Hoke might have been silenced. Dying 8 days after the interview was too much of a coincidence. Nick Broomfield published Hoke's interview in the documentary Kurt and Courtney. When the documentary was released in 1998, it created great controversy. Courtney Love's lawyers claimed that Hoke's allegations were baseless and that the documentary was defamatory. Courtney Love herself reacted harshly to these allegations. In her statement to the press, she said, "Eldon Hoke was an alcoholic and drug addict. What he said was completely fantasy. I never made such an offer. Anyone who takes these allegations seriously is stupid." But Courtney's statements weren't convincing to some. Especially Hoke's death shortly after the interview strengthened conspiracy theories. Tom Grant argued in his own research that Hoke's death was part of the Kurt Cobain case. Throughout the 2000s, Eldon Hoke's allegations repeatedly came up in different media outlets. True crime programs, podcasts, books. On all these platforms, Hoke's $50,000 hitman allegation was discussed. Each time, the same questions were asked. Was Hoke telling the truth, or was he living in fantasy? In 2010, in the published book Love and Death: The Murder of Kurt Cobain, the authors examined Hoke's interview with forensic analysis experts. Body language experts concluded that Hoke was telling the truth during the interview. Voice analysis gave similar results. Hoke's stress indicators didn't point to lying. During the same period, retired Detective Michael Torres, who worked at the Los Angeles Police Department, re-examined Hoke's death file. In this study that began as personal research, Torres found inconsistencies in police reports, especially the incomplete taking of witness statements and inadequate examination of the crime scene caught his attention. Torres's 2015 published article included these conclusions. Eldon Hoke's death was not sufficiently investigated. The suicide conclusion was hastily drawn. Witness statements were not completely taken. The crime scene was not adequately examined. This file should be reopened. But official authorities did not take such calls into consideration. The Riverside Police Department stated that Hoke's file was closed and would not be reopened. The case had expired under the statute of limitations. In 2020, an episode of the Unsolved Mysteries series aired on Netflix dealt with Eldon Hoke's story. The program showed Hoke's interview footage again, and experts discussed the topic. Forensic expert Dr. Patricia Williams stated that there were suspicious details in Hoke's death. Dr. Williams's analysis was particularly interesting. Bodies being thrown 100 meters from tracks in train accidents is very rarely seen. This situation is only possible at very high speeds. But that night, the trains were traveling at normal speed. This contradiction cannot be explained. Private Detective Sarah Chen, who appeared on the same program, had investigated Hoke's final days. According to Chen's findings, Hoke had received several threatening messages after the interview. It was unclear who these messages came from, but the content was very clear. "You'd better stop talking." In 2023, the true crime podcast Dark Secrets reopened the Eldon Hoke file. In the fourth episode of the six-part series, Hoke's friends spoke for the first time. Musician friend Rex Anderson said, "El Duce was very scared after that interview. He kept saying, 'Courtney's people will find me. This will end badly.'" Anderson's statements were even more striking. "In our last meeting, he gave me an envelope. There was a sealed bag inside. 'If something happens to me, give this to the police,' he said, 'but only give it to someone you trust. The system is corrupted.'" Rex Anderson had kept this envelope in his home safe for 26 years. He revealed the envelope's contents for the first time for the podcast. Inside were detailed notes that Hoke had handwritten. These notes weren't just simple memory aids. He had recorded every conversation with Courtney, specifying dates, times, and locations. The notes showed that Courtney's offer developed in stages. After the initial $50,000 offer, when Hoke rejected it, Courtney had raised the amount to $75,000. In March, her final offer was $100,000. The note said, "Cash money, no records, untraceable." The notes also contained detailed information that Courtney had given about Kurt's daily routines. Kurt, staying alone in his room above the garage every morning between 7:30 and 9 a.m., the security alarm being disabled during these hours, which days electrician Gary Smith would come. All these operational details were in Hoke's notes. The most shocking note was this. Courtney rehearses how she should behave after Kurt's death. She repeatedly says, "I'm so sad, I'm so shocked," like she's acting. Following Anderson's revelations, former FBI profiler Dr. Robert Chen analyzed these notes. Chen's assessment was striking. These notes weren't written spontaneously. They're very systematic. Hoke really felt he was in danger and was trying to protect himself. This kind of detailed record-keeping is usually seen in people who feel mortal danger. These revelations reignited Kurt Cobain conspiracy theories when they came to light. The Eldon Hoke Truth hashtag trended on social media. New questions began coming to Courtney Love, but Courtney's lawyers claimed these notes were fabricated after the fact. Today, Eldon Hoke's $50,000 hitman allegation is still being debated. Even 27 years after Hoke's interview, this issue couldn't be closed. The details that emerged after Hoke's death show that his allegations should be taken seriously. Eldon Hoke's story continues to be one of rock history's darkest pages. Was the $50,000 offer real? Was Hoke silenced? Was Kurt Cobain's death really suicide, or was it a murder planned by Courtney Love? The answers to these questions may never be known. But thanks to Eldon Hoke's courage, the dark details surrounding Kurt Cobain's death came to light. Hoke's sacrifice showed how dangerous it can be to pursue the truth. Even 27 years later, Eldon Hoke's voice continues to echo. $50,000. That was the price Courtney Love put on Kurt Cobain. This allegation continues to shed light on one of rock history's greatest mysteries.